Hello, and welcome, my friends, to the next video in the Create Better Content series, where I show you how to tap into your creativity to help you stay consistent with your marketing so you can reach more customers. My name is Penny, and I'm going to guide you through this content development process because I think it's more than just talking about engaging content and talking about content ideas. It's about understanding how to create the content and the marketing messages that are going to connect and resonate with your customers online. And if you want to learn more about creativity and how this can help you develop your content marketing plans, I would love it if you would hit that button below and subscribe to this channel. And below in the description box, there are several links. One that you will see is for the Content Prompt Playbook. This is a free download, and it's for those of you who are using ChatGPT to help you write your copy. So if you're finding that your copy is coming out very generic, I have pulled together a step-by-step guide for you that you can download for free to teach you how to talk to ChatGPT so that it gets what you need to write better copy. Another link that you're going to see is that you can join us in the Marketing Strategy Collective. You hear me talk about this. This is my group. We get together every month on our Zoom call. Matter of fact, we just had our Zoom call this morning, and we were talking about sales and we were talking about clients. So you have this opportunity to have a space, a supportive space to talk through your problems. But you'll get a monthly workbook depending upon whatever topic we're going through and to help you learn new skills and develop new momentum with regard to your marketing. So you see the links below, you know what to do to learn more. All right, so today's video, we're going to actually kind of focus on a topic that came up in our Marketing Strategy Collective call. It's about clients, and it's about the idea of being a gatekeeper and really getting the best client for you. And I had shared a story about in the call today about something that had happened to me. They're called, how can I phrase this? Almost right clients, and we all kind of recognize them. They're not the terrible client. They're not rude. They're not impossible to work with. But something just feels harder than it should. The work usually ends up taking longer. Projects stretch beyond the original scope. And you find yourself explaining things over and over again. And by the time that project is finished, you are relieved that it's done versus celebrating with the client the work that you've done. These are almost right clients, and they don't mean to cause these disasters and these problems with our business, but they do. And what ends up happening, and this is one of the stories that I shared today in the call, and I was talking about how somebody had connected with me and started asking me for some consulting help. And I actually knew this person through an organization that I work with. So she came, highly referred to me. So it wasn't like some strange person and I don't know her. And we started talking, and she asked for a proposal. And when I talked to her about her business, I should have known immediately. And this is what I'm talking about. We kind of know. When she told me that she had an established business, but she was starting a consulting business, and the established business had absolutely nothing to do with the type of consulting business that she wanted to do. So she was using her experience as a business owner to move into consulting. Totally get that. But she was brand new to it. And so when I gave her the proposal, I was just full on, here's what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And that moment on, she ghosted me. She went from so excited to here's my phone number. She was calling me on my cell on the weekends, asking me questions, really excited. And I thought, there's something not right here. But her enthusiasm was there. And I didn't ask enough questions. So I could point that finger back at me and say that it was an almost right client because I didn't ask the right questions. And now looking back on it, I'm actually kind of glad that she ghosted me. Because I think about this, and I think about the idea of this concept of almost right clients. And I think about how if she had not ghosted me and she had actually signed that paperwork, and we went through the proposal process, and we went through all of that stuff, I was talking to her back in November, I think it was, And now we are in March. I wouldn't put it past me and her, actually her, that if I was working with her, if I had signed that, I probably would still be working with her. She seems to be the type of person that a 3-month project, which would have been December, January, February, would still be going on now. So when we talk about these almost right clients, they create a whole lot of hidden costs. They show up in our time, that time that I took for my proposals, the time that I took to get on calls with her. She took my energy when I thought that we were moving through the process and I was gaining ground on a new client, because when I start working with a new client, I start doing research. So there was that happen too. And of course, to my results. And eventually, the cost showed up in my lack of revenue when I could have been focusing on somebody else or something else for my business. So I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this idea of these almost right clients and like the hidden costs, and why learning how to do this idea of being a gatekeeper, understanding who your business should be working with, is one of the most important shifts that you're going to experience as an entrepreneur. And it's interesting because I'm talking about this and then I'm sharing you a story that even been in business for 25 plus years as I have, I still do it. I still found myself doing it. And I know why, because for me, she came in a back door. She came in a back door through an organization. Had she come in the real funnel, the other funnel that I have, I would not have gotten as far with her. But I still did. So she became the almost right client. And they're always close enough to your ideal client that makes you want to say, you know what, yeah, I'll do it. But they're misaligned enough that she quietly drained my energy and my time. Had I signed on with her, or she signed on with me, she probably would have been draining my time in my business. So here's the thing about these almost right clients. You don't really come across as, like chaos and just, you have some clients that just come across and you're like, oh no. You can't even show up on time to a call. You are disorganized. You don't even know what you're selling. I have certain lines that people need to fill in before I could work with them. And these almost right clients, they don't intentionally want to be almost right clients. But what happens is something subtle. It's like somebody who's been saying, I've been following your content and I love what you're saying and I think I need help. And you're like, yeah, that's promising. I'm talking to these people. This is the stuff I'm talking about. She needs my help. So you talk to them and realize, they're really not that client that I thought I wanted, but they're close. Maybe they're in the earlier stages, like this client was, that when I normally talk to people who have established businesses, and she was in a very early stage. I mean, she didn't even have a business name. That's how early stage she was. I don't work with people like that. So when she'd have come to me through a normal funnel, I would have said nope, but she didn't. And I said yes. And I think that when people come in from that place, their expectations are different, especially when they're at that early stage. Their budget is lower. They need more time. So you start making adjustments and you tweak the offer and you modify the timeline and you're like, okay, this misalignment is so small. And it didn't seem like a big deal in that moment. But then as the project continues on and the work with the client continues on, those small adjustments, those timelines, the small thing, that thing, it starts stacking up. And one of the first places that you're going to see this impact of the almost right client is when they're not quite grasping what's happening because they're not aligned with the process. So the expectations aren't clear from the beginning. They understand what you're responsible for and maybe what they think they're responsible for and what the process looks like. But the client isn't the right fit for them. Maybe, like I said, they're an early stage person and you generally work with people who have been established businesses. And so you start adjusting things and you start explaining more. And then they need additional support because that wasn't originally included in the program because the people that you normally work with are experienced people and they don't need this extra help of even figuring out the name of their business. So none of these requests, quite honestly, are unreasonable if that's what you signed up for. But collectively, the project starts to go far beyond its original shape. And instead of you delivering this one focused thing that they need help with, you end up delivering 5 smaller, separate ones. And suddenly that project that was going to take 4 weeks is now another month into it, and you are nowhere near in sight of the end. So when you think about things that happen, it's because our gate is too open. We're just taking in too many people. We're saying yes to too many things because maybe our business is slow and maybe we think I'll just take any project over nothing at all because I need the money. And I totally get that, especially in the economy being unsteady that it is right now. But let me tell you this, and this is what I wanted to talk about today, that there are hidden costs behind these almost right clients. And it has something to do with not just our time, but your energy too. Because when you work with somebody who's the right client, remember, think about it. Think about what happens. You feel energized. You're engaged in the process. You're excited to see their progress. Your conversations are productive because they get it. They're doing the work that they need to be doing. You're doing the work that you're doing, and together you're creating whatever this amazing thing is that you're doing together. But those almost right clients, they kind of create a different emotional rhythm. And you start noticing things like you hesitate before responding to their emails. You're like, oh my goodness, how many times is she going to ask me this question? And I'm going to copy and paste the same answer. You feel this tension going into the next meeting because you're just like, oh my goodness, what am I going to say today? Or what is she going to say today? And you overthink how to explain something because you're having to do it again and again and again. And even if this client is perfectly polite, like this person was with me, the work starts to feel heavy. And then you start thinking to yourself, what have I lost passion for this business? It's not you. It's that there's an alignment between the client and the work that you're doing. And I got to be honest with you. Over time, if you take too many of these types of almost right clients, these relationships kind of start to drain the enthusiasm that you actually have for your business. They affect how you feel about it because then you start questioning yourself and working with other people and you're thinking, what's wrong here? Why am I feeling like this? And again, it's these things are just so subtle. But one of the things that I've noticed is when I began to have an awareness about this, and it's kind of funny, I have an awareness about this, but I let that one slide in. I let that one slide in. That was a boundary problem versus a gatekeeping problem. I have that enough awareness to know what that was. But when the awareness happens like this, those discovery calls, this is what the discovery call is so about. Because the discovery call gives you those answers to know if this is an almost right client that you want to work with. Because these almost right clients, they're affecting our time, they're affecting our energy, and they're affecting our ability to create results. Because when you work with somebody who's ready for your program, ready for process, ready to do the work, they implement, they jump in, they show up to their meetings, they do their work. You get messages from them saying, here, can you take a look at this copy? They understand the value of what you're teaching. They apply the feedback. They don't have any questions. But when someone isn't quite right at that stage, the progress slows down. They need more support. They struggle with implementation. They question steps that these ideal clients of yours are just zipping right through. This slows down the results that they experience. And your almost right clients affect the idea of this results, and they can ultimately affect something called retention. Because when someone is fully aligned with your work, they stay longer. They continue into the next program. They buy the next thing. They sign up for the membership so they can see you every single month. They actively participate. They renew their contracts. They become long-term clients. But when the fit isn't right, the relationship tends to be shorter. They complete the project and then they quietly move on. Because you know what you're feeling? They're feeling it too. And that means you are spending more time with them instead of looking for new clients and building deeper relationships with the right ones. So this is the idea of gatekeeping. We've been talking about this month. We're talking about this in the collective on our Zoom call this morning because it's incredibly important. Gatekeeping doesn't mean that we're rejecting people. It means that we're being clear about the signals about who our work is designed for. So we think about, the readiness, their expectations, the effort level, the stage of business that they're in. All of those things are filters for you. And when those signals are clear, something powerful happens. Those right clients, they recognize themselves immediately in the offer that you're sharing. And the wrong clients, they will redirect themselves even before dumping into your inbox, because that's the purpose of the gate. It's not excluding people. It's providing alignment between your offers and your clients. And I think that sometimes when we get into this place about this, we think about tightening our message. I work with people who do X, Y, and Z. It sounds like we're being exclusive and we're not opening the door, and especially to an unsteady economy where we may be open to, I will work with you, I will take whatever. So there's that side of it. But then there's the flip side of the gatekeeping that says, the environment here where my work produces the best results is with these people. And that's all it is. I mean, every professional does that. Doctors specialize in things. Lawyers focus on specific areas of laws. I mean, you wouldn't go to a corporate lawyer and say, can you help me file my divorce? They'd look at you like, I'm a corporate lawyer. That's not what I specialize in. So these define their business and make them more effective. So that's what I'm talking about here. It's about defining who the clients are. I work with people who are in the second stage of their business looking for funding and this, and this. So when we become clear in our marketing about who we work with, whether it's on our sales pages, whether it's in our marketing messages, our emails that we're sending out, all of this combined, layer upon layer, telling people this is who I work with. That's the gate that we're opening up to the people we work with, but we're also closing it and saying, if this is not you, don't come through. Because I know this. Because if you've been in business for as long as I have, even if you've been in business for half the time that I have, chances are you have worked with at least a few of these almost right clients. And they probably taught you a lot. You probably looked at your business differently after you worked with them. You looked at, well, that didn't go well. What could I do differently? So that's what we're talking about here. You're no longer trying to attract all of the options out there. You are looking at which opportunities and people should be walking through the door. That's the role of being the gatekeeper in your business. Because the sustainability of your business isn't built on saying yes to everyone. It's built on creating the conditions where the right clients can thrive. And when the alignment is there with your marketing and the alignment is there with your messaging, everything gets easier. Projects move faster, results improve, referrals become stronger, and your work becomes energizing again because you're working with the right people. So thank you so much for joining me today. If this episode's giving you some ideas about how to learn some new skills for your marketing, I would love it if you would hit that like button. And then do me a favor, hit the share button and share this with another business owner who you think might appreciate this conversation that we're having. And if you are ready to take this further and you want to join us in the Marketing Strategy Collective, we're going to help you take those ideas and turn this into a content plan that's going to drive sales. So stop working in a solo bubble and learn how to work in a collaborative space to get the help you need. The links are below. You know what to do to learn more because you are magnificent, my friend. And let me be the first to say, I'm proud of you. Until next time.